Hello there, and welcome to Murder Most British. I'm Zach.
Hey guys, welcome. I'm Rachel.
Ooh, we're back for another one.
Yep.
Go back to Wales.
Yeah, as long as there's no long ass. I mean, I really just struggle with the Welsh language. I really, really do need to download that. What is it called? Lingo.
Duolingo?
Yeah, I need to do that and just learn some Welsh language.
But, I think it would be good just to kind of understand the words and what the letters mean and stuff.
Yeah.
When you have two Ds, it's a th, like a TH.
Yeah, you were saying that, weren't you, the other day?
Which is very interesting. But
Well, before we begin, a small request from us.
If you enjoy listening to our true crime stories, please give us a like, a follow, a 5-star rating. It all really, really helps with the algorithm and everything. It really boosts us up. We would really, really appreciate it. Also, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Murder Most British and on Facebook, MMB Podcast.
Yeah, it definitely helps others to find us and hear our stories as well. You can also join us in the public crit chat, our free Discord channel, where you can talk about cases, share theories, read the latest news from our archive.
Yep, all that will be in our link tree in the description. Your support helps the archive grow and ensures no story is ever forgotten. And as always, this episode involves real events and may be upsetting for some listeners, so please, your discretion is advised.
Well, let's get into the story.
Fog hangs low over Pembroke's mill pond, blurring the line between water and sky. The old Norman walls rise out of the darkness like a memory that refuses to fade. It's the early hours of a December morning, the kind where breath turns white and every shadow feels a little too deep. Christmas lights sway along the narrow lanes. The pubs are dark, doors shut against the cold. Pembroke sleeps, or seems to, while the pond lies perfectly still, reflecting only the dim glow of street lamps. A place so familiar, most pass it without a second thought. But tonight something breaks the stillness. A sound, quick, uncertain, ripples across the water. A bird, a branch, a stone slipping beneath the surface. By dawn, it will be clear that the quiet beauty of the mill pond has concealed something far darker. For now, there's only silence.
Pembrokeshire is a county shaped by water and stone. Its estuaries creep inland like dark, quiet veins, and at the centre of it all lies Pembroke, a town gathered beneath the shadow of its medieval castle, the great walls rising above the mill pond as though carved straight out of dusk.
The pond itself was once tidal, a small inlet breathing with the sea. Centuries ago, it was restrained, dammed, and made still. Now it lies long and narrow beneath the castle ridge, its surface dark even in daylight, its edges tangled with willow and reeds that bow low over the water. Above it sits Pembroke Castle, the fortress where Henry Tudor, later Henry VII, was born in 1457. On winter days, the pond mirrors only the gray sky. On winter nights, it holds the faint glow of street lamps, like trapped stars. That's pretty old castle.
Yeah.
It's still
I'll have to take a look. I'll have to go online and have a look at the castle. I've never heard of Pembroke Castle, and I do obviously like to look at all the different castles in England. I think it was a lot of there was like Kendal Castle, which was, well, it's pretty much demolished now. There's no longer. It's only a kind of single wall standing.
Yeah,
but,
just ruins.
Yeah, but obviously looking back through real old pictures at the castles when they were fully,
or
it's
paintings
pretty cool. But yeah,
before the camera.
Kendal Castle was like a ruins one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. I love the architectural.
I just like to think about how old this stuff is compared to
Imagine
the founding.
living in a castle.
Well, compared to founding of America. This was like over 400 years older than when America was founded.
Yeah. I mean, look at the lifestyle. I mean, I read obviously back in them times, because it was just stone walls, so it was freezing. They would then put tapestries on the walls in order to try to, stop drafts and warm up the walls, basically, because every little crevice of the stonework,
Yeah.
would leak some air from the cold weather. But yeah, interesting. Northeast of Pembroke, though, the village of Cosherston curls around a crossroads and the parish church of St Michael and All Angels. Hedge-lined lanes drift down toward the estuary, the water slipping between mudbanks and dark grass. Lily's World centres on this corner of Pembrokeshire, between the quiet lanes of the village and the lights of nearby Pembroke. In a place where neighbours know each other by name, where the sound of a single car on the lane can tell you who is coming home. Nothing about Cosherston is grand. Its quiet is the kind that settles into the bones.
At the center of Lily Sullivan's world is her mother, Anna, a woman who had weathered years of loss and heartbreak. She had suffered 14 miscarriages before Lily arrived, a child she once feared she would never hold. That long history of grief made Lily's birth feel almost like a miracle, a brightness after a dark and pain stretched over years. She grew up at the heart of a close, tightly bound family, loved with a tenderness shaped by all that they had gone through to have her. 14 miscarriages, that's a lot. Oh, that is heartbreaking.
A lot of sadness, that.
Just one is devastating.
Yeah, that is, luckily, I personally have never experienced it, but I can't imagine how much heartbreak that to go through.
You're just so excited to have this child, this beautiful miracle, and 14 times, that's more than anybody should ever have to go through. But Lily came and it was just a light in the dark.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, as she grows, Lily is remembered by her family as bright, funny, and a talented artist. A beautiful girl inside and out, kind and caring, with a creative streak that coloured everything she did. She loved her clothes and her makeup, and above all, her music, especially house music. Like me, I like house music. The kind that turns headphones and speakers into small, private worlds of sound.
Oh, it's run in the family. Our daughter, she likes all that club music, house. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm just give me some country music. I'll be all right.
It's definitely my sort of music.
Yeah,
I think I'd get on really well with this, Lily.
Yeah, when you guys are down there bumping, I'm just like, oh my gosh. I don't hear a twang. Like,
no, we're definitely opposites on music taste, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. Well, so as Lily moves into her late teens, she starts going out with friends more regularly. The first small freedoms of adulthood take shape on weekend nights along Pembroke's main street. Out nightclub keeps the late hours, its neon glow and low music drawing young people from Cosherston, Pembroke Dock, Lampfee, and the nearby villages. Plans rise and fall over messages, friends drift between pubs and doorways, and her mom waits at the end of the night to bring her safely home. It's a simple routine: friends, music, a lift, the kind of quiet ritual familiar to rural towns. And beyond the noise and the color of the lights, only a short walk away, the mill pond lies still beneath the castle walls, a dark counterpoint to the bright rooms where she laughs and dances.
Further east along the road lies Lampfee, a narrow village marked by the ruins of a 14th century bishop's palace, a pub or two, and the quiet routines of rural life. It's the sort of place where everyone recognises a familiar face. Among those faces is Lewis Haynes. He plays cricket for the local team, works steady shifts and blends easily into the background of village evenings. There is nothing remarkable about him on the surface, nothing to suggest the darkness he will wander into.
Say, look, another 14th century bishop's palace. That it just blows me away. How just in some little quiet village, hey, look at this old ruin here. Oh, that was from the 14th century.
Yeah, obviously with our country is so old, and the buildings they are amazing how they still stand to this day, a lot of them.
Like the church that we were married in.
Yeah.
That was about the 12th to 13th century.
That was, yeah, All Saints Church. It was, it's a beautiful church.
Yeah.
And the stonework and, the way that their architectural sort of skills was just, they're so magical looking, aren't they? They're like it's a really beautiful place, some places in England.
And they're just still there.
Yeah. And then you've
Still
got a mix
used.
of obviously Tudor buildings and stuff as well. So, there's a lot of history here.
Mm-hmm. So Haynes is living at Flemish Court in Lamphy. His days move in predictable loops. Work in the oil industry, time divided between his partner and child, weekends at cricket, and late nights spent drifting through Pembroke's pubs and clubs. To those around him, he is simply another young man navigating the usual pressures of small village life, restless at times, sociable enough, and unexceptional in ways that made him easy to overlook.
By late 2021, Lily was attending college and planning her next steps. Creative work, beauty, fashion, the things she poured so much of herself into. Nights out in Pembroke had become a familiar part of her week. Messages flying back and forth, friends meeting outside pubs, and her mum waiting at the green garage to bring her safely home. It was a simple, familiar pattern, one she and her mum had begun to settle into.
Just a few miles away, Haynes's life moved along its own unremarkable tracks. The rural life kept their circles close, the same roads, the same late-night venues, the same faces passing under the same lights, but never quite overlapping. By the end of 2021, they moved through the same winter evenings in parallel, until one December night brought them to the same place at the same hour.
On the night of the 16th of December of 2021, the hours settle deeper around the club and the atmosphere inside out begins to loosen. Inside out, but the out nightclub. Inside out the nightclub. So the nightclub's OUT out. So just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Heat hangs in the air after hours of dancing and drinking. Lights shifting in reds and violets while the bass line pulses beneath it all. Cold air slips in each time someone steps out to smoke. People move between the bar and the dance floor in easy patterns, conversations rising and falling. It's the familiar late hour feel of a rural nightclub, unhurried and drifting.
Lily moves easily in the late night drift, stepping between friends, checking her phone, laughing at conversations that blur together in the warmth of the room. Nothing about her movements calls attention. Nothing hints at the hour waiting for her outside. Somewhere in the same haze of music and color is Lewis Haynes. Drinking, talking, weaving through familiar faces. Their paths cross in the vague way people do on nights like this. A glance, a moment, a few words lost beneath the music. Nothing about it breaks the flow. Nothing about it alters the night. Not yet.
Near closing time, the club begins to empty. One group leaves, then another. A slow spill of bodies into the cold air. Lily and Haynes stepped out within the same few minutes. Whatever brief connection sparked inside, carrying them into the December night. Main Street is almost deserted, street lamps catching the faint shimmer of Christmas lights. In that drift between doorways and shadows, they fall into step together. A little way down the lane, half lit by a street lamp, they have a kiss and a cuddle. Brief, impulsive, light for her, but already carrying a weight he cannot seem to hide.
No, having a sneaky little kiss.
Little.
We've all been there.
Nightclub smoochy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we've all been there, to be fair.
End of the night.
You've had a few drinks, had a dance, someone's caught your eye on the dance floor, and you're like, having a little smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the moment barely had time to settle before it fractures. A friend of Lily's spots them and calls out across the lane, quote, "What are you doing? You've got a girlfriend, and she's only 18. The words land like ice. Lily pulls back immediately. Whatever spark existed, gone in an instant. She turns away, heading toward the narrow cut-through behind the club, a crooked passage of stone walls and shadow. As she walks, she phones her mother at 2:47 a.m. Their familiar end-of-night routine. Her voice is warm, steady. Quote, I'm on my way. Well, sorry. It's M-A-M.
Ma'am.
Yeah. Ma'am. So, we go mom, ma'am. So that, she's not like, yes, ma'am. She's just, that's for mom. So she says, I'm on my way, Mom. Nearly there. Then, mid-sentence, the call cuts out, leaving only silence.
Yeah, I mean, that's better be pretty shocking, wouldn't it? Like, you're having a little smooch with this guy and he turns out he's got a bloody girlfriend. Honestly.
Yeah, I do believe he's 31 at the time.
He was a lot older then. She tries once to reconnect. Nothing. Assuming a signal drop, she pockets the phone and keeps moving towards the quiet stretch that leads to the mill pond. Behind her, Haynes follows, the distance between them shrinking with each uneven step. Somewhere along that lane, Lily confronts him properly, clear, direct, sober despite the hour. She tells him she isn't interested, that whatever happened outside is finished, that she is going to meet her mother. He trails after her, trying to talk, trying to undo the damage of that shouted accusation. Panic begins to tighten around him, fear of consequences, fear of exposure. Their steps fall out of sync, and the night begins to turn.
Yeah. He doesn't want to get, exposed for cheating on his old lady.
Yeah, but then why go after Lily? Why not go to the person that shouted it out and say, hey, look, it's just a stupid drunken kiss. Please don't say nothing, it's not gone any further, whatever.
Well,
that's what I would do anyway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go after the person that I was kissing.
But she clearly said, I don't want anything. I'm out of here. I'm going to go meet my mom. Fuck off.
But she clearly did. The way she reacted when the person had shouted out to say that he had a girlfriend, she clearly didn't know that he had a girlfriend. And, so why would she go off and tell the girlfriend? She probably doesn't even know who the girlfriend was. So you would think.
Well, small town. It's easy to find.
True.
Well, so they move toward the path that leads down to the mill pond. Here, the world widens and then darkens again. Street lamps cast small islands of amber light, but most of the path lies in shadow. The water ahead appears as a long black mirror, barely distinguishable from the sky. Pembroke Castle looms above it, silent, watchful. Lily quickens her pace, wanting only to reach her mother's car. Behind her, Haynes lingers close, their shadows stretching and collapsing in the uneven glow. The world thickens, the trees lean inward, and the quiet begins to gather around them in a way that feels suddenly, unmistakably wrong.
What happens next disappears into the darkness. The night swallows the struggle, the words, the panic, the final moments, holding everything tight between the trees and the still water. No one hears, no one sees. Along the banks, the cold mutes every sound. And somewhere in that unseen stretch of the path, Lily stops responding. The call that cut off earlier becomes the last anyone will ever hear from her. The pond lies still, the path returns to silence, and the town sleeps on, unaware of the violence hidden just beyond the lamplight.
Well, that's, just trying to get home, going down the dark path. Like, it's just a night. Like, it feels like the nightmare that everybody would have, that you're late at night walking down a dark lane, and someone comes out and attacks you. That's just, it's so horrific.
Yeah, I do remember. We're telling the case to you guys now, but I do remember this case quite clearly. And the next bit of information we're going to give you is really rather sad, because obviously the mum wasn't that far away. It's very sad.
Across the water, the castle stands unmoved, its reflection flickering faintly on the black surface. At some point afterwards, Haynes reappears alone. The night has changed him. There is a new urgency in his movements, a restless pacing that cracks through the quiet in short bursts. He climbs the slope toward the car park. Just as he reaches the bridge, headlights sweep across the railings. A car pulls in. Lily's mother steps out, searching for her daughter, trying to understand the sudden silence on the phone. Their paths cross for only a heartbeat, a brief, wordless collision.
But as a mother of a young girl myself, this is just worrying. Any mother would automatically be thinking, what is going on, because,
It's not usual.
No. Very sad, her mum being so close. Well, Haynes, he looks straight at her, a steady, unreadable stare before moving on. She doesn't recognise him, not yet, but something about him feels wrong. A prickle of instinct, a ripple beneath the quiet. So she follows, just a little way, watching as his movements slip from casual to frantic. He crosses the road, doubles back, grips his head in his hands. It's strange enough that she keeps going. But when he reaches the wooded strip near the Bush School, he vanishes into the trees, swallowed by darkness. She loses him there, in the tangle of branches and shadow, while behind her, the pond lies perfectly still.
He was right there.
A mother's instinct, It's like, oh, no, hang on, this guy doesn't seem quite right. And my daughter should really be here by now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think definitely every mother would go with a gut anyway and just kind of
Why is
be a
this
bit
guy
curious,
acting
like
shady? Well, after that brief, wordless crossing on the bridge, the night doesn't change. The night feels longer, heavier. The darkness stretches, pulled taut by the tension of something unspoken. Anna waits by the garage, the place she and Lily agreed upon. The call had cut off mid-sentence, and now Lily's phone just rings and rings. Anna tries again and again. Dozens of attempts, around 30 times, go unanswered. A slow, creeping dread settles into her chest.
What begins as a small inconvenience soon turns into something else. Minutes stretch, the road stays empty, the cold presses harder. Lily, who has always checked in, always appears when she says she will, does not. Eventually, Anna's stillness breaks. She gets back into her car, tracing the short roads between the town and the water, walking the paths, checking the corners she knows by heart. But every place that she searches looks back with nothing to offer. There is still no sign of Lily.
In Lamphy, a darkness goes home with Haynes, settling behind him like something he cannot outrun. His jeans are damp, clinging cold to his legs, and there is blood on his arms. Small details that speak louder than anything he might try to hide. Instead, his partner asks what has happened. A simple question for a truth that cannot be softened. His voice breaks in a single brutal line. I've strangled somebody. They're in the mill pond. The words land with a cold, unmovable truth, the kind spoken by someone who knows they've crossed a line that cannot be crossed back.
A short time later, the two of them drive through the dark rural roads towards his parents' home. It is still early enough that the world feels suspended, houses dim, windows blank. They wake the household, and in the stunned quiet that follows, he tells his mother he has strangled a girl, and that the body is in the mill pond. Just after 4 a.m, his stepfather makes the call that draws the police into what remains of the night.
Shortly after the call, patrol cars pull up near Mill Pond Lane. Officers move along the bank of the water, their torches cutting through the reeds and the cold winter dark. And then the search breaks. Near the edge of the pond, close to the lane, they find a body in the water. Lily is unresponsive.
Her pale lace crop top lies on the bank, stark against the grass. Her handbag is found a short while later, submerged, a clump of hair caught in its zip. Paramedics work in the dim grey before dawn. The hour, the cold, the position of the body. None of it leaves much room for hope. She is pronounced dead 6:02 a.m. Word begins to ripple through the force. A confession in Lamphy, a body in the water, a night revealing what it had hidden. Detectives rise from warm houses into the cold dark of a murder inquiry.
Officers proceed to the parents' home, where Haynes meets them at the door with the same stark admission. There is no denial. No attempt to step back from the words he had already spoken. He is arrested on the spot and taken into custody. At the station, the lights are harsh, almost surgical, peeling the night off him inch by inch. His clothes are removed and bagged, each item sealed away as evidence, while the reality of what he'd done closes in around him.
Well, at the custody desk, Lewis says, and I quote, "What the fuck have I done?" Under the unflinching brightness and the low murmur of officers, the last of his composure slips, the words collapsing out of him in a stunned, hollow rasp. But remorse cannot soften the process. The night had been taken out of his hands. The investigation owns him now.
Back in Pembroke, dawn scrapes itself across the water. A white tent rises by the pond, its outlines stark against the reeds. Evidence markers appear along the bank. The place dozens walk past each day becomes something altered and watchful.
Inside the investigation room, detectives begin stitching together the first threads. Publicly, they say little. A woman has been found dead, a man arrested. Privately, the picture sharpens. They know her name, her age, the timing of her final call, where she lay in the water, what was said before dawn in Lampthe. What they need now is the space between those points, the breaths and seconds that turned an ordinary walk into something fatal.
Yeah, they got to find all them pieces. It's like, okay, yeah, we have a spoken confession.
Yeah,
we've found her body, all of that, but we need to have proof of everything, where they were, how it all happened, minute by minute.
Yeah, proper
almost,
timestamp it.
Yeah, so they can build a full case to say, yep, these are all the things that happened. He did it. Throw him in jail.
Poor girl.
Yeah. Family members are spoken to first, quietly and gently. Anna's account, the cut-off call, the unanswered attempts, the search she began alone, becomes the emotional spine of the timeline. Later, the postmortem identifies bruising to her face and injuries consistent with manual strangulation. There is no evidence of sexual assault.
Another branch of the inquiry spreads across Pembroke. Detectives return to Out nightclub, to the pubs along Main Street, to the businesses where CCTV cameras blink down on the pavements. Footage is collected, slowed, examined. Movements traced, faces mapped against the final hours. Lily's phone becomes its own witness. The last calls, the last messages, the long silence. CCTV from 3:09 a.m. shows Haynes near the Bush School, shaking his head and holding his hands to his face. A timestamp investigators later set beside Anna's account. Slowly, the gaps begin to close.
That's where he's holding his face going, oh shit, oh shit.
Yep, like, what the fuck have I done?
Yeah.
Literally.
That's just what he said. What the fuck have I done? It all hitting him like a ton of fucking bricks.
Yep.
So at the pond, emergency crews scour the water and the banks. Cold water is swept with poles. The banks are combed for anything the darkness may have hidden. Clothing, fibers, personal items. Each piece is photographed and sent to the lab. Inside the station, Haynes sits under caution. He admits strangling Lily, but claims he tried to pull her from the water.
Well, detectives listen without interruption, then set his version against what they already knew. The absence of a call for help, the state of his clothing, the early confession, the silent phone, and the stillness of the pond. Each detail strips weight from his account. The truth begins to settle.
Yeah. Why didn't you call 999, brother? Like, come on. What are you doing?
You do that straight away.
Yeah.
If you can't manage to get her out, you'd be trying to do both at the same time, I would have thought.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, shit, this is all gone crazy. I need to call emergency. So, he just gets up, runs away, goes home, tells his old lady that he strangled somebody. He's like, wait a minute. You didn't actually try to do anything.
Yeah, there's no way that he would have tried to get her out.
Yeah.
Because he clearly, from the CCTV of him holding his hands in his head, he was clearly panicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Piece by piece, the investigators map the night. Lily leaving the club, Haynes behind her, the lane, the broken call, the still water. What began as scattered timings becomes a single unbroken line. By the 19th of December, police issue their first substantial update confirming the direction of the inquiry. Searches along the pond continue beneath the thin winter sun. The strength of the case does not rest on one moment, but on an accumulation. The early confession, the autopsy findings, the CCTV, the forensics. Together they narrowed the story to one man. Within days, the investigation reaches its threshold and the file is placed before the Crown. A charge of murder follows.
Haynes is taken from the station under escort, led into the grey December light toward the magistrates. The beginning of a long, unsparing process far removed from the quiet path by the pond. The van pulls away. Inside, detectives return to the statements and screens, the hum of work not yet done. Outside, the cordons shrink. The mill pond settles back into its winter stillness, reflecting only the castle above and the cold Welsh sky.
When the case first reached Swansea Crown Court, Haynes did not admit murder. He pled guilty only to manslaughter, insisting he had panicked after an accident in the water and denying any sexual motivation. His account conflicted sharply with the evidence, the CCTV, the medical findings, the removal of Lily's clothing, the state in which she was in when she was found. With the two sides offering incompatible versions of the same night, the court ordered a Newton hearing, the process used when a defendant accepts responsibility for a death but disputes the facts around it.
Well, in the days that followed, prosecutors set out their reconstruction. They argued that after meeting Lily at the Out nightclub, Haynes became violent when she rejected his advances. He strangled her, removed her top, and left her in the dark water of the mill pond. The court walked through Lily's final hours in forensic detail. CCTV from Out and the surrounding streets showed her and Haynes leaving the club and slipping into the unlit lane together. A fixed camera near the Bush School showed Haynes at around 3:09 a.m, shaking his head, hands to his face. Lily's crop top lay dry on the bank. Her body was found face down in the water just after 4:30 a.m. Haynes claimed her top came off in the water, a suggestion the judge dismissed as obviously fake.
Yeah.
Clearly did not happen. How can it just come off?
Yeah,
she's not going to try and pull her own top off trying to escape you.
Yeah, and then it's on the bank.
Yeah.
And it's not
dry,
like soaked.
Not touched the water at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a little damp from the, because it's frosty out or whatever.
A bit dewy, sort
but
of.
But other
dewy.
than that, you would think, if it was in the water, it would be soaked through.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't dry quickly because it's December.
It's December. It's going to be so cold out there. So, of course, it's not going to dry. So, there's no way that came off in the water.
Yeah. So, the forensic evidence deepened the contradictions. The postmortem confirmed bruising to Lily's face and injuries consistent with manual strangulation. The postmortem confirmed bruising to Lily's face and injuries consistent with manual strangulation. There was no evidence of drowning. She died quickly, the court was told. The water did not kill her. It concealed her. A nearby resident reported hearing a scream at around the relevant time. A detail prosecutors placed against the CCTV timeline to show precisely when the night turned from a routine walk to a fatal encounter.
The hearing also examined Haynes' own words from the hours after the killing. First telling his partner, then his mother, "I've strangled somebody," and they're in the mill pond. Judge Paul Thomas, QC, said these admissions, given before police arrived, carried significant weight. He rejected Haynes' claim that he had tried to pull Lily from the water, ruling that there had been no genuine attempt to save her. The judge described Haynes' visible distress after the killing as self-pity rather than remorse.
More emerged about Haynes' life beyond that night. He lived with a partner and a young daughter, a family the judge said gave him a great deal to lose. The court heard that Haynes feared the consequences of his advances being exposed, a fear that sharpened his actions after Lily rejected him. With the judge's findings set out, Haynes' earlier account could no longer stand. When the proceedings resumed, he changed his plea to guilty of murder. After all that's been laid out, you're like, yeah, you
I
might
think
as well just plea out.
Yeah, he's trying to go for that lesser sentence, isn't he? You know, but what can you do?
Well, it's not going to be a lesser sentence in the sense of it's
they're
going to be a
get
life
little
sentence.
Bit of time off.
But they're going to be like, okay, but he fought it. He's like, I only just, man, nah, come on, man.
But
he should have just come clean immediately.
Well, yeah, I mean, me personally, I don't understand, when there is all that evidence and you've already said right in the beginning to numerous people that you've done this, that you would actually go to court and not plead guilty straight away.
Well, he was trying to get manslaughter, which would only be a few years instead of life.
Yeah, he's trying to protect himself.
Yeah.
Which shows no remorse. If you're doing that and you're just thinking about yourself and how it's going to affect the situation is actually going to affect you and not what your actions have done, in effect to the person that you've killed plus their family and their friends.
Yeah.
You don't take that on board and...
Trying to save his own skin.
Yeah. Well, in his sentencing remarks, Judge Thomas described Lily as a terrified young woman, alone in the dark with a powerful man. He ruled that the sexual motivation was clear. The removal of clothing, the attempted concealment of the body, the circumstances of the attack, each pointed to the same conclusion. He called the murder a callous, predatory, and cowardly act, emphasising that Lily had died from strangulation, face to face, moments before her body entered the water.
The judge also noted aggravating factors, including a previous incident in which Haynes had pushed a former partner down the stairs. This history, the sexual element, and the attempted concealment all increased the seriousness of the offense. On the 26th of August 2022, Haynes was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 23 years and 4 months before he can be considered for parole. Outside court, Lily's mother, Anna Sullivan, called him pure evil and spoke about the moment he walked past her at the pond that night, looking into her eyes, she said, fully aware of what he had done.
The sentencing ended the courtroom phase, but it did not soften the grief that followed. The verdict ensured Haynes would not walk free for decades, but nothing could return the daughter Anna had raised alone, the girl she described as a beautiful inside and out. As Judge Thomas rose and Haynes was led down to the cells, a hard, pale light poured through the tall windows of Swansea Crown Court. And far away in Pembroke, beneath the shadow of the castle walls, the waters of the mill pond lay still once more, unchanged but carrying the weight of everything that the night had taken.
In the months after the sentence, the story of Lily Sullivan did not loosen its grip on Pembrokeshire. News of the trial settled into the town's memory like a cold front that refused to lift. People continued to walk their dogs along the mill pond, but the place carried a different weight now, as though the water had kept a faint impression of what it had held that night. The ripples returned, the reeds grew thick again in spring, but the pond remained marked, quietly and indelibly. Flowers and tributes were placed along the railings and the path, small signs of remembrance left in the weeks that followed.
For Lily's family, the aftermath was a landscape entirely remade. Her mother, Anna, spoke publicly after the sentencing, each statement carrying the stark reality of her loss. She described the months after the murder as a life sentence without my child. She talked about Lily's humour, her creativity, her stubborn independence, and the way that her absence had reshaped daily life. The empty bedroom, the quiet house, the phone that no longer lit up with messages. Relatives echoed the same themes in tributes and interviews. The sense of a light gone out in a small, close-knit family.
It's just so terribly sad.
It really is. It is the saddest thing.
Yeah.
Nobody should lose anybody like this. Absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, it's just so horrible that she'd spent all that time, with the miscarriages and she was just a miracle.
Yeah,
a miracle baby, and to lose her like this is just horrific.
It is horrific. Honestly, My love goes out to the family and friends.
100%. But in prison, Lewis Haynes began serving his minimum term set by the court more than 2 decades before he can even be considered for parole. He disappeared into the closed world of long-term custody, where days are counted in routines and locked doors. Whatever he does there, work shifts, courses, visits, remains behind walls and out of public view.
Outside those walls, Pembroke tried slowly to reclaim its ordinary life. Businesses reopened along Main Street. The clubs and pubs returned to their usual flow of weekend crowds. Yet people still mentioned Lily when passing the pond or the cut-through behind the nightclub. Flowers and candles were placed along the waterline, and photographs were pinned to the railings in her memory. In Cardiff, candles were lit for Lily alongside those for Aisling Murphy, at a vigil reflecting on women killed by men. These gestures did not change the past, but they offered people a way to stand together in grief and remembrance.
The case also prompted wider conversations, not formal policy changes, but a collective reckoning about safety, about women walking home at night, and about the fragility of the boundaries people assume exist in familiar places. Lily's name appeared in national lists documenting women killed by men, in news features on violence against women, and in parliamentary speeches marking International Women's Day. These discussions did not undo what had happened, but they reflected a shared attempt to confront its cost.
In the months that followed, that line echoed through statements, tributes, and memorial posts across Wales. Lily's friends marked her birthday, her family visited her grave. None of it restored what was lost, but each act asserted that she would never be forgotten.
And so the story settles back into the landscape that once contained it. Pembroke's castle still rises above the mill pond. The water still holds the reflections of street lamps in winter and long shadows in summer. People passing along the path where Lily once walked, each step unremarkable, each one another quiet reminder of a life interrupted. Buildings and seasons change, but some places stay marked, holding their memories lightly in the dark, long after the rest of the world has moved on.
Moved on, but she will never be forgotten. That was the story of Lewis Haynes and the murder of Lily Sullivan.
Absolutely crazy.
It's so sad. You don't go out and have that in your mind whatsoever that something like that would happen. You know, I think females can be a little bit, they should think about these sorts of things, you know, and be wary, because you just never know. I think, you know, just go out, make sure that you go home with somebody, i.e. a girlfriend, you go out together, you go home together.
Or you have someone like, hey, stay with me until my mom gets here, or walk with me or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot to try to protect yourself by taking just some simple steps like that, you know, make sure, or stay on the phone with somebody. You know, there's so many little things that you can do just to try to keep yourself as safe as you possibly can. So
that's what I would think that I would like people to take from it is, you know, she shouldn't have to do that.
No.
She shouldn't have to be like, oh, I need to have these people stay with me to keep me safe so someone doesn't fucking murder me.
Yeah.
You know, but unfortunately there's people out there that have bad intentions. Yeah. And this guy, he seemed nice. They had a little bit of a kiss and that.
Flirty kiss and stuff.
And whatever, but you know, and then it just turns because of something that someone shouted out that shamed him and put him in a bad light because he was technically cheating on his old lady.
Yeah. It's
like, why aren't you home with your woman and your child? Like, why are you out here at almost, you know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning out at the club and that? It's one of those things where you just want people to take something away from it. Don't let it just fade away. Yeah. Learn something from it and stay safe.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, every family member of people that have been killed in this way would like to say the same, just to try to prevent any more women being killed unnecessarily, horrifically like this, just from a nice night out and not being able to get home.
Yeah.
It's a very sad story, very, very sad case, this.
Obviously, our hearts go out to her family. And
most definitely. Every case, we sit, we think about the victims, and our thoughts and our love goes to the family and friends of each and every victim. So thank you for listening.
If you would like to support the work we do here in the archive, please take a moment to follow the show, leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps the other people to discover our stories and keeps the archive growing. Sharing the podcast with someone who loves true crime also makes a huge difference. Most
definitely. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Murder Most British, and on Facebook at MMB Podcast as well. And if you'd like to chat with us and our other listeners, come and join us on the Public Crypt Chat, which is our free Discord space with case discussions, theories, updates from the archive. It's all there. Come and join us.
Yeah, come chat with us. Everything you need, socials, Discord, and more, it is in our link tree below. So until next time, stay safe and stay curious.
Take care, guys.